Welcome to F Your Life Up, a podcast about what happens when you blow up the life that you had to build the one you actually want. Today, we're going to be exploring the theme of identity loss and reinvention, navigating what people think once you actually make the change, or whatever mental hurdles you have to get over to make that change. So today, we're excited to invite marriage and family therapist Michelle Kelly to our podcast. She is a licensed therapist and speaker who works with women navigating life transitions from identity shifts in parenthood to the messy, uncertain moments of wondering what's next. Having worked in treatment centers and private practice, she now spends her days doing what she loves most, supporting women as they get unstuck, rediscover themselves, and embrace their authentic lives. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm
so
need
excited.
You.
Please
really
help us. Please help us.
I needed you a year ago. So what's the number one thing that you hear from your clients in this space when they come to you?
Help, I'm drowning. Save me.
And now what? And tell me what to do. Like, where do I go from here? Just a sort of existential panic, or just a very logistical, like, okay, now what? Where do I go from here with this information or lack of?
But do people go, hey, like me, like I want to try to work through this? Or are most people like, no, I'm ready to make the change? Or like, do you kind of leave it to them to tell you where they're at and then you make a plan off of that?
Those are such great questions. It's so dependent on where someone's at. But I think usually people will come to me in the stage of, oh my gosh, like, what am I supposed to do? Things feel up in the air. I feel like I have too many options to consider. And so my starting place is always, well, let's collect a bit more information before we make any decision. And my style really is about holding the space and understanding where you've come from, where you want to go, but not making any immediate choices, like really spending some time with understanding what the different options offer, and listening to all the different needs, and also trying to pull apart. I think this is a big point. What is it that we want, and then what is it that we've been told to want, or what is holding us in the place that we're still in? Whether it's like societal expectations of women, or our roles at home, or what we've believed we've wanted for so long, and kind of just like picking those all apart before we understand like what's ours and what's not.
Do sometimes you have a client that comes to you and it's almost so obvious, and you're like, how is this person not seeing this? Like, this should be the plan. Because I know that's one of the interesting thing about like a therapist versus like a life coach is you're supposed to be guiding someone to find these things, not just saying, hey, knucklehead, let me just tell you how to fix it. Right.
I love that idea. And certainly I have those thoughts bouncing around from time to time, but then I have to go, but is that mine? Like, who's to say that is the next choice, and so many times it's either naturally come upon, or if it's discovered on your own, it's way more meaningful than if I go like, this is what you should do because I said so, there's a lot of biting my tongue.
Have you seen the show Shrinking?
I haven't, but I've heard so many people say like, how have you not watched it yet? It's so good.
I don't know. When I was a zookeeper, I couldn't watch animal documentaries, so I get it. But like, that's kind of what they go through in that is like the first introduction to Jason Segel is he's like, just do this. And like people start doing it, chaos ensues, and it's hilarious. But I would imagine that's probably like crawling out of your skin all the time, and you have to constantly temper it, right?
There's that, and there is the joy of like marinating in it just a bit and letting someone experience all. I really do think that's where the magic happens. And I know it's annoying. I know that because I've had so many people sit across from me and go like, just say it,
right?
But for me personally, I don't think that's my place. Of course, there are gentle nudges here and there, like, have you considered this option? Just because maybe I'm seeing something as a consideration, but for the most part, I think I'm kind of here just to help you like polish that mirror a bit, and then you have all the answers. You'll figure that piece out, but you have so much more context than I can ever have. So I think it's so much more, the client's choice. But yes, I certainly have thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle, I like this topic because this is something that I've personally like dealt with a lot in my journey. The idea of like, what happens if I change what I thought I was? For example, this happened to me when I decided I was going to leave the workforce and primarily be stay-at-home mom, which was new and unexpected for me. And it can go the other way. Like sometimes there's women who thought that they were going to be a stay-at-home mom and they decide they actually want to be working. And I have also done that flip side. Or like Sam, when she was like, I've always been a zookeeper. That's all I've ever wanted to be. And now I don't actually want to be a zookeeper, but now I want to be a stager. There's all these things that come in. It's like you're judging yourself. Are you worried people are judging you? Like, what do you say?
That's the big one. It's the fear of like that. Are people going to think I'm wishy-washy?
Yes.
And
Yes. Are people going to think I can't commit to stuff, or I'm flighty, or like, do too much? I've had people actually say that to me, like that, oh, is this one going to stick? Those types of things. What do you say to women who are feeling, or anybody that's thinking about like that they're not actually not that happy in their life, but this fear of their identity shift and the judgment, internal and external? How do you help navigate somebody through that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I think my knee-jerk reaction is I just go, well, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And staying right there, really, what do you want? What is yours? Is your what is your heart's desire? What do you want? And letting us just stay in that space. I think when, one of my favorite things to talk about is values, and this is a part of something called acceptance and commitment therapy. And it's really getting clear on what your values are. And when I say that to most people, they're like, values, I don't know, like if I say needs, it's more conversational, but still there's a lot of discovering there. But values. So what are your values? Okay. When we get to that point of really harnessing, like, okay, well, I value integrity, or I value family in this phase, in this moment in life, right? Because those values can change so often. But when we get clear on that and we make a decision that's aligned with that, we can tolerate all that other stuff so much more. Yeah, you think I'm flighty. That's nice. Like,
yeah.
I know what I want. I know what I'm doing. I know this is aligned in my heart. I know I'm going to make it work. I know. And so people are always going to have opinions and thoughts. And again, we're getting so much of that external messaging all of the time. But I think when we get really centered on what it is that we want, then we have a lot more tolerance for that other stuff, because that's not going to go away.
Do you have any daily mantras or sayings that you personally use or give to others to help them feel that feeling every day and have that confidence and not wobble?
Yeah. So my personal favorite is nothing to do, just be. I remember the moment I came up with it. I remember how I needed it. It was that reminder of sitting with and stop getting stuck in well, if I could just, and next I should, and the do, and just going, okay, right now I just need to sit with it and be, which of course at that time was miserable, but from that came all the other stuff. But that was what I needed to do right then, was sit with it. So in terms of affirmations for other people, that's something I love to come up with.
Nothing to do but be.
Yeah, I feel like that should have come with a trigger warning for this group. I'm looking at like Katie and Sam. I'm like, do we know how to just be? We're doers. We need that help. That's uncomfortable for us.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So the doing part is great. First and foremost, let's not try to get rid of that. That's really important. It doesn't have to be one or the other. We don't have to cancel that out. That has made you who you are, and as successful as you are, and driven and ambitious. And so let's hold on to that. And then let's also make some space for the sitting with, listening to, just getting to know that other side. And it's a process, right? It comes in small increments. But I think, like any good coping skill, when we're doers, that has allowed us to thrive. I'm a doer for
Yeah.
sure. But there comes a point where doing starts to inhibit, and we're maybe, at least in my experience, like I'm losing out on all this stuff over here or over here. And it's like, but I got this thing and just wait. And, but when we can make space for all of it, when we can just sort of slow down, we have a lot more room to be mindful in our choices. And so I think that was my big motivator, is I didn't want to be so reactive and so go, go, go. And it just kind of allowed me to practice that quieting piece. And so that's my mantra. That's certainly my anchor I come back to when I'm, I get an email and I'm like, whoa, I need to sit with it. Like, don't do anything. Because usually when we listen to like all the things that initially are saying what we should do, those probably aren't all like the most informative ones. Those are reactive parts. That's just hit this wound, or got to show this, or whatever it is. But when we can sit with it, usually we come from a place of like much more knowing.
Right.
But certainly a process that's practicing daily.
Yeah, I so relate to that, because that, like, especially like when I was in my 20s, I felt like I could sit and be and like take things in. But then once I got so busy with work and trying to follow the commitments, and then also, promote, and then have a kid and have all the things.
Yeah.
I just was like in go, 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 go mode. And then, then you have bad reactions in emails. You have bad reactions in person. And I think that was where my therapist was trying to help. Okay, quiet your mind a little bit. But like, it just was never going to sink through. I literally needed to break my ankle and sit in bed for 3 months for me to do that and reset. And even now I'm adding in more things, and I'm trying to be more conscious as I'm adding in more things of like, don't do too much, don't overcommit, don't get back in that hamster wheel cycle of it. And I'm curious, like, I can't help but feel like we're kind of in this like post-feminism phase of like, you can have it all, but then now you have it all, and why would you want to drop it? This is what you wanted, and part of that makes me feel, at least, that you got to just keep going and going, because the guilt of, you worked so hard for this, it was what you were promised, now go, but now I'm going to let it go. Like, now I'm going to drop it all. I'm curious kind of if this is like a new agey kind of midlife crisis that you're seeing. Is this sort of just the culture that we're at now, where you're finding a lot more women in the space because they're trying to do it all?
I like that. I think there's so many pieces to that. There's so many variables. I think overall change is much more accepted and talked about. I mean, even in doing the, like having a shift, whatever that might be. I talk to especially my women clients about it all the time. They're relating to, podcasts and books and different TV shows and all of this, because it's out there, it's being talked about. And I don't feel like that was talked about before, especially for women. I think it was more widely accepted if there was sort of a reorganization for men later in life. But I think there is more acceptance of it. I think we're talking about it more. And I love that women are choosing to do that, to have these conversations, to take up their space, to know that just because I chose this for so long doesn't mean I have to choose it for forever. And, to your point, I don't think we give it all up. I think we take it with us. And it's a reframe. It's not to dismiss the heartache and the challenge of going, I'm leaving this, but I think it all goes together. I think we bring that with us, even in this endeavor. Here you are bringing all of that here with you as part of your story and your journey, and to whatever comes next. And it's the grief, right? It's the challenge, the frustration of, this isn't what I anticipated. This isn't what I thought it was going to look like. And here I am. But yeah, so all that to say, I think there's more space for it overall.
Yeah. And
it's more a topic of conversation.
I just think women know that they can speak to therapists maybe more than men, who are going to just go out and have the extramarital affair and get the sports car when they're not. They find other material ways to scratch that itch. So I appreciate that we do live in a world where it should be more accepted. It's still hard. It's still hard for
Mm-hmm.
people to make that identity shift. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get people like Katie who just get tossed into it and they
Yeah.
got to figure it out anyways.
Yeah, I got tossed into my kind of life change. They're layoffs, right? Entertainment
Okay.
biz, and so my question would be, I'm at this interesting place where I get to decide what I want to be when I grow up again, right? Because I have the time, I have the space, I get to decide what I'm applying to, where do I want to put my energy? What
Mm-hmm.
meditations, what journaling, what inspiration thoughts should I be using to try to find out, what I like, what do I want, who am I?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Of course, where I want to go is like, what do you know already? Like I know you've got answers there. Like
Sure.
what have you found? What has felt good?
Well, and that is the interesting thing. It's like, so I know what I'm good at and I know what I've done successfully. But I do wonder, how could I give more? How could I do more? Am I just going to the safety of, I know this, so this is what I want to do again, So I guess what I like, is there anything I could do to kind of enlighten myself to say, the obvious is here and it's going to be an easier path, but like before you knee jerk reaction, just like kind of like what you said, like sit and be, am I, to make sure that I understand what other opportunities are out there or how I could pivot, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. And this to me is like the yummy stuff. Like I love this piece of let's allow ourselves to just discover like what.
Yeah, take a moment.
Yeah, I'm thinking of I think it was a We Can Do Hard Things episode. Are you guys fans? Glennon Doyle, We Can Do Hard Things. Yeah, no, okay. Phenomenal. But so she was having a conversation. I don't remember with who, and they used this way of describing. They said, "What feels warm?" Oh, and I love that so much. I also think our body tells us so much, and that's why it's such an interesting story, Samantha, that you were talking about. My body said, "Okay, you're slowing down. You had the accident, and so here you're having to slow down." But our body certainly keeps the score, which is also a great book. But so anyway, what feels warm? I
What
really
sparks
love that.
joy, right?
Yeah. But like what when we think about it makes us like truly warm and fuzzy. Like how often do we get to sit with that? I mean, even when we think about going to dinner, like how often do we just go like, oh, get the decision off my plate. Like I just don't want to think about it anymore, But
Yeah.
what is it like when instead you're like, well, I mean, yeah, that's okay, but like, right? And getting into that, what if
Yeah.
we built our lives around that, where we're just in the so often it's doable. There's going to be the other stuff, but I'm a big fan of why not? Why not allowing ourselves to just be really indulgent in the what feels warm and good? So my question to you would be exploring that piece. Like, what have you found that when you do it, whatever it is, little, big, a moment in time, something you touched on before, something you've thought about, you've seen someone else do, you've read, where you go like, it just sounded so, and like, let's start there. I don't know if anything comes to mind.
The yummy factor.
Yes.
Find your yummy.
Who doesn't want a yummy life? Yeah, I do.
love that.
But yeah. Is there anything that sort of calls to you in that way?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Katie, you loved your job, right? Like it wasn't even right. Do you feel stuck sometimes in the thinking of like that this is all you can do, or like that?
No,
like, it's hard to think of yourself doing something else.
The honest part is there's two prongs. I loved my job, right? And there's the two prongs. The industry that I'm currently in, entertainment industry, is hemorrhaging right now. So it is not a stable industry to get into. People aren't changing jobs, so there's not as many open, and people are cutting back, right? So as much as I love it and I'm good at it and that's what I want, there's not a lot of opportunity. So I need to be realistic on knowing there aren't a lot of those jobs left. And in particular, not just the executive development role, but also the hosting creative, because the marketplace has gotten very flooded with the YouTubers.
That is so hard, right? Like when we're in that place of, I don't know, lack of control. I mean, who desires that?
Yeah.
That's never fun. But it's that, it's the grief of, yeah, I've accrued all of this, and what is, does it still hold value? Do I still hold value? What does that mean? What do I do with this?
Yeah.
This isn't what I asked for, and I still have to do it. Like that grief, that one's so hard because I didn't ask to be a part of this club, and I'm freaking in it. And now I have to work my way through it. And what does that look like? So yeah, we could do the rainbow spin on that and go like, oh, okay, like this is an opportunity, and that's great too. It opens ourselves up to exploring that. But there's also the other piece that we have to hold, which is like, that sucks. That's so hard. That's so frustrating. This isn't what you anticipated. And how do we work through that? And, I also think in holding that piece, which, I'm going to label as anger. If I was in it, I'd be so angry. There's so much movement in anger. And I love an angry woman because I think that there's passion, there's energy, there's something to that. And we are so creative and motivated in that space, but we're often told like, well, don't do that. That's a waste of time. But I go, no, do that. Get angry. Like, let's do that. There's so much information we find from that space. So holding both, duality, holding both anger and frustration, and like, yummy, doors are open. Somewhere in there's something to take.
Right.
You said something earlier, Michelle, that I've been thinking about. One word, you said the word tolerate. You said, we were talking about like what happens when you're shifting your identity and stuff's coming up, and you said, what can I tolerate those feelings? Can you talk more about that? Like, learning to tolerate feelings. Is there a difference between tolerating and accepting? Like, can you speak more to that? Because that word for some reason just stuck with me. Like, can I tolerate this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess in tolerating, that's sort of what I'm speaking to, is that idea of the sitting with. Like, it's not instant change. It's not always what we like, but can I tolerate it? And I think speaking specifically to that idea of, if I'm going to make a choice and if it's aligned with my values, I likely can tolerate whatever comes with it. Because I would love to say, you choose a value and you say, okay, my value is happiness, and so we go this path and it brings me total joy and everything's bliss. No, but if we have the joy, if we touch on the joy, I more likely can tolerate all that comes with it, because people are still going to have opinions. I'm still going to feel the guilt. I'm still going to be maybe pissed off or whatever it is that I had to do this in the first place, whatever it is. But we have more bandwidth to be able to sit with the good and the hard. I think as a whole, we have low tolerances for that. And it doesn't mean we can't do it, but the tolerance piece comes in when we're so ready to change it. We're so ready to control it. What is it like if we sort of sit beside it? I'm not saying condone it and love it, by no means, but it's like, you're here. Okay.
Yeah.
How am I going to make space for you? This is my reality for whatever this moment is, or this choice is, or whatever it is that I'm looking at. How do I get sort of comfortable with the idea that this exists? I'm a big fan of not trying to get rid of things, whatever it is, the anxiety, the depression, the hard, the grief. I'm much more of a like, we're here. So how are we going to get to know it? And
I so relate to that from an animal training perspective. Like, again, if I have to apply something that I do know from my past that I can take with me, to your point, is animal conditioning. Like, we can train a tiger to accept a needle in its vein and have an awake voluntary blood draw. Well, how do you do that? You break it down in small steps and you make them feel the uncomfortability and show them that it's okay. They get through it, and now they're able to tolerate. And then you just break those down into small steps, and you can do incredible things with dangerous animals.
I need to go way off topic for a minute. I need to talk about the time that Sam stuck a needle in a tiger while it was awake. Is
Well,
anyone
not me,
else
not me personally, but keepers. I mean, I have given voluntary injections to animals too. Like it's incredible what you can do if you break it down like in those small bits and pieces and know that we're capable of the same thing. I feel like we ask our kids to do the same thing. Yeah, I know this broccoli tastes disgusting, but it's good for you, you know? And like you cook it in different ways to get them to tolerate it, and then they realize that it is good for them eventually. So maybe it's just that we just got to eat
that
our
it's
broccoli.
yummy?
Because it's true. I feel like for my algorithm for social media, I get influenced a lot by like if we're talking about a comparison to what women do when we want to like f our lives up, right? What do we do? I see we're moving to Italy. We're gonna like just leave the country and like run from our problems, and that'll solve it. And then inevitably, you get the articles that say, "Well, didn't really work out. Same problems. Like I didn't work on myself, or you know, another country doesn't have all the solutions. There's downsides to other things. So escaping is not always the right answer either. But being intentional and mindful, you know, and using a therapist, I think is a really good step for people. But you do probably just have to sort through and find the one that speaks to you in a way that you need. Okay. So we're going to go through then, and we're going to wrap up here, and we're going to go down the line, and we're going to say what we each learned here. All right, Katie, what did you learn?
You know, I'm stuck on finding my yummy. I'm stuck on finding my yummy and what's going to make me happy, and what, you know, take a moment to think and just go, yeah, that's it. That's it.
I love it. All right, Crystal, what did you learn?
I learned that a good first step is to figure out what your values are. Like if you start there, like, that feels like the North Star. Like, here's my value, and I'm gonna, as long as I'm moving toward that, nothing else matters. I can tolerate everything else. That was a big takeaway.
Yeah, I think for me, sitting and being, it's going to be something I'm going to have to constantly remind myself, because I am the person that will just say yes to everything and just continue down that path. And I don't want to get to the point where I need to F my life up again. I've done it. I want to do it right this time and not have to do it over, you know? So I really appreciate you giving us that reminder to do that, because usually women are the primary caretakers, and we have jobs now, and it's overwhelming, and don't let it get to that point. Right. So, all right. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time, Michelle. If you guys want to follow her, you can get her on Instagram at Michelle Kelly Therapy, or go to her website, michellekellytherapy.com. Follow us on F Your Life Up Podcast on all social media platforms, and send us any questions to fyourlifeuppod@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.